So for today's video, I had considered a controlled airstrike on Theresa May after watching her abysmal display in Parliament. I'm not sure how many more times I can tolerate her saying, "as I said in my speech." I had also considered doing a video on BBC Three's Things Not to Say to Essex People. Vajazzles and chavs came up. It was quite amusing. I might do it later this week. But about an hour before I started recording, I saw an article that had me for a moment, a brief moment, feel some sense of justice. And I thought, maybe there's a possibility my country's judicial system is finally going to start restoring some of that faith I'd lost in it. Then again, this one will show a glaring inconsistency since both of the ladies I'm going to reference in this video went to university. The one, though, that is mentioned in the article I'm about to touch on did not get off. Controlling girlfriend who starved and stabbed her partner, banned him from her bed and took over his Facebook account is jailed for more than 7 years. To be exact, it's 7.5 years. A controlling girlfriend who made her partner's life a misery by inflicting a catalogue of injuries on him in violent attacks has been jailed for 7.5 years. Petite Jordan Worth stabbed him with a knife. Sounds familiar. Reminds me of that girl who was a aspiring neurosurgeon that stabbed her boyfriend in a fit of rage. The same one who broke bail by going to see him to apologise even though she wasn't allowed to, then got off because she was considered too talented for prison. Now, hands up if you let a cocaine addict operate on your brain. No one? Thought so. Scalded him with boiling water, banned him from their bed, and decided what clothes he should wear. The last one I don't really actually care about. I think it's entirely circumstance-based. For example, if your girlfriend wants to go to a restaurant and look nice, and you then decide to rock up in a matching tracksuit bottom set, bright red Nike Air Maxes, bright red tracksuit bottoms and zip-up jumper, yeah, you deserve to be beaten. Aspiring teacher Worth had a degree from the University of Hertfordshire, had come from a loving and supportive family, and had raised money for children in Africa. No one cares. Even if the defense used this as some kind of please show leniency to my client, I don't care. You broke the law, something we are going to touch upon in a moment because there are a couple of crimes you committed, which all accumulated into this 7.5-year sentence. But Luton Crown Court heard she cruelly controlled every aspect of her partner's life. The court heard Worth and her partner had met at college in 2012, when they were both 16. Prosecutor Maryam Saeed said a relationship began and they later moved in together. Clearly they were quite young, as she's only 22 and she's going to miss all those years getting wasted that she could have had getting wasted, getting fisted in prison instead. Congratulations, you're so petite, you're going to be some bull dykes, bitch. But the prosecutor said worse was to come as she became violent towards the man, who the court heard suffered from hydrocephalus, which is caused by a build-up of fluid inside the skull which made him vulnerable. She used blunt objects to strike him, wounded him with a knife, and didn't help him get to the hospital for treatment. Wow, what is love after all? For 9 months he couldn't sleep in the same bed as her, the court was told. How loving. Worth pleaded guilty to controlling or coercive behaviour in an intimate relationship, wounding with intent and causing grievous bodily harm with intent between April 2016 to June last year. That is quite a lengthy period of time to be abusing someone. But it does happen to fall in line with certain laws that were introduced in our country, which means that you are able to be prosecuted for controlling or coercive behaviour. So we're going to touch on that now. This is from December 29th, 2015. The government's new coercive or controlling behaviour offence will mean victims who experience the type of behaviour that stops short of serious physical violence but amounts to extreme psychological and emotional abuse can bring their perpetrators to justice. The offence will carry a maximum of 5 years imprisonment, a fine, or both. Minister for Preventing Abuse and Exploitation Karen Bradley said, "No one should live in fear of domestic abuse, which is why this government has made ending violence against women and girls a priority." Notice there for 1 minute, it seemed to be neutral, and then she spun it. We'll ignore that for now. Also, before we continue with this article, we should also address the legislation for the Offences Against the Person Act of 1861. Whosoever shall unlawfully and maliciously by any means whatsoever wound or cause any grievous bodily harm to any person with intent to do some grievous bodily harm to any person, or with intent to resist or prevent the lawful apprehension or detainer of any person shall be guilty of felony, and being convicted thereof shall be liable to the kept in penal servitude for life. How very interesting. Let's continue with the article. Neighbours of the couple often heard them arguing, said Miss Saeed, and the sounds of things being thrown in the house. She said the victim was heard by his neighbour shouting at Worth, "Get off me, you are hurting me." I really want to know how much smaller this guy was than her. It's already described her as petite, trying to make her seem like she's either a firecracker or she's dating a gentle giant. Once Worth was seen at a window by a neighbour armed with a screwdriver or hammer, the court was told. Another neighbour heard the victim shouting, "Get off me, get off my head, don't keep doing that to my head." She saw burn marks on his arms which he explained away as self-inflicted. Typically how victims behave when they're being abused because they seem to have Stockholm Syndrome at the same time. The court heard it was in June of last year that neighbours called police to the couple's home in the village in the early hours after hearing shouting. The ambulance crew noted injuries to his hands, burns to his arms and legs which were being self-treated with cling film. There was cling film around his ankles and a hand wound that was bleeding. She must have had one hell of a Napoleon complex. Based on what we've heard, based on what this article is indicating, she really deserves the prison time. Then again, it was pretty obvious early on. She stabbed him. She deserved prison right there and then. The coercive behaviour one is a bit of a new thing for me to understand, but knowing it is being enforced is a good sign. Jailing her for 7.5 years, Judge Nick Madge told Worth that as well as the violence she carried out on her partner, she had refused him adequate bedding and food. He said she would belittle her partner and discouraged him from contacting friends and his family. He said she accepts that she has in the past on a number of occasions used blunt objects and implements to strike him, and that he suffered injuries as a result of her doing so. Worth was also made the subject of a restraining order which prevents her from contacting her ex for an indefinite period. Well, one will hope by the time she's out of prison, he would have had enough time to move on with his life, to find someone nice to be with, because people like you deserve to die alone. You don't deserve love. You don't deserve anything that isn't nasty and doled out by a bulldyke in prison. Can't wait to see how that works out for you, although you'll probably end up being the sub. Yeah. Now to finish this video, I thought I'd give a few final thoughts. 7.5 years is a lot longer than I expected she would be given. When I first saw the article, I was actually stunned, and upon reading it I thought, maybe they'd give her 2 years at most. But then I remembered, sorry about Discord, she'd probably only serve half that time anyway, so she's not going to miss out too much of her adult life, although I will still say that those are her best years. She's losing. She's not the only person over the last 12 months that I have done a video on who's committed a crime that has then been given the correct prison sentence. There was that supposed would-be lesbian who kept claiming to have been raped, who was sentenced to prison, and rightly so. But then we have the girl, the university student, who didn't get any time and stabbed her boyfriend. This one is enough on its own to complain about inconsistencies when the magistrates don't hand fair sentences to those that commit actual crimes because of, quotes, mitigating circumstances. And I don't want to linger on this too long, but just because you've done this one good thing doesn't mean for a second I trust you to do your jobs. I don't think anyone does right now. Much like nobody trusts the Metropolitan Police, and no one trusts Theresa May because she said that the military action in Syria was in Britain's best interests. Now, whoever heard that before? Oh, that's right. Tony Blair said it about Iraq. We all know how that ended. But I've diverted from the original subject, and I might stream on that subject instead. So I hope you all have a lovely day, and thank you all for listening. Okay, we're not done yet. You see, there was another article I did actually intend to cover because I thought it would raise a number of interesting questions with regards to whether companies should pander or not. It's not related to the earlier mentioned subject, so if you don't want to listen to me talk about halal foods for like a minute or two, so this video goes over 10 minutes so I can get all that extra sweet ad revenue, yeah, my videos get demonetized, I don't give a shit. But I do like to keep them at least within a certain time frame. So anyway, Mohammed Tawhidi, if I pronounced that wrong, I do apologise, took a video of himself eating non-halal certified chocolate, and he said it tasted better when there was no halal stamp. You don't suppose it's because he wasn't supposed to eat it, right? Or do you think it's because the quality of the food is better? I'm not sure. I don't generally make it a point to eat halal food, but I do know people have been discussing, and I think it was Vipersaw talking on Vanilla Bear's stream. She was talking about companies putting halal stickers on foods, or there being foods that were halal and people didn't know. Now, I make it a point, I don't touch halal foods. I know someone's going to mention now the inconsistent position of the meat eater to talk about cruelty to animals when it comes to how they are handled, certainly in halal meats. I'm not going to argue or refute that. I barely eat meat these days anyway. But in any case, I don't really care for halal meat, halal products. And I'm curious to see what you all think about that, and what you also think about halal products as well, because some companies have stopped paying certification fees, and this raises a number of questions, certainly where this is happening, I think in Australia, about tolerance and acceptance, but also about pandering to groups, and why on earth they feel the need to put a halal sticker on a chocolate bar in the first place. Now to finish this video, I thought I'd finish with Mohammed Tawhidi eating non-halal chocolate. So enjoy.
I'm actually here. I like these ones. And there's no halal certification here. None of that nonsense. I'll just flip it over. Nothing here. Unlike the Mars, the Mars bars. Look at that. Isn't that halal? But you don't get it in the, you don't have it on the cherry ripe one. And all the other ones, I might grab this as well. I love this one. Alright, let's go buy them and I'll eat them in front of you. I'll go for a Kit Kat next time. I just need to get out of here before the radicals start coming. Cherry ripe, there was no halal logo on it. I can still eat it. I don't need to force people to abide by my Islamic terminologies and my way of life. Delicious. It's delicious because you're not annoying anyone, you're not bothering anyone either. So what's all this conversation about? Why do we have to annoy people? Enjoy your chocolate and live a happy life. Enjoy your day.